Hello, hello. Hi, Cy Bradley. I'm Anna Russell. I know I should be saying something more Nathan-esque like good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or something like that. But I'm Anna. I'm here from New Zealand with episode 23 of the Rap podcast. Got Cy Bradley with me. He is from, I found not London, but Manchester. I should have known that from the accent. I definitely should have known that. Hello, Cy. Evening there for you, morning. So I won't say good morning, but how are you going?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, it is good evening. Yes, I'm much further north actually, so it's much colder than London. But I think also Nathan Orwin normally always says we're live on YouTube, Twitch, and you can also catch us on the normal podcast platforms, I guess he normally says,
Yes.
or something. I don't know.
Oh, he's
These are big
got
boots to fill, so I
I
don't know.
know. He's got such a good script. But yes, we are live on Twitch. I'm in the chat over there. We're on YouTube. I've just noticed I'm in the production chair and we've also sent it out to all of my own personal streaming platforms. So you can go catch it over there as well. And it will be up live straight after the show on all podcast platforms. Turns out there's a lot of them. So I thought there were just about three. There's actually about 20. So whatever podcast platform you enjoy, it will be there. But yes, today, episode 23, which I can't believe. We've been going for, almost 6 months now, which is insane. Nathan is, from what I've seen on Instagram this morning, somewhere on a plane in Brazil picking up his fiancee Gabriella, and they are then flying all the way back. So he is going to be extremely tired. He thought he might have been able to do the show, in between airports. I was like, you have way too much faith in the aviation travel system at the moment. So he is not there, but see people already in the chat. We've got an exciting show. So as you probably see on the Zwift Racing League Facebook page, as soon as the routes are revealed, I'm in there saying, Cy, get prepped. We're having you on the show. This will be the third time we've done it. We've done it for round 1 and 2. So I'm excited to dissect all of the routes in round 3 with a few little surprises as well, although I see WTRL have posted up the surprise for race number 6, but we have a few little details about that one. And yeah, otherwise then it's straight on to the fashion in the garage. We're going to talk about what we're doing as the podcast Christmas New Year ride next week. So I've finally settled on that, and James Bailey from Zwift has very kindly said he will set up a last minute event for me. I'm that terrible person that messages, the day before everyone goes on leave. But Si, we'll kick it off with, what have you been up to over the last week?
Well, it's an exciting week, of course, because the inbox lights up. I know this time of the year or this time of the month when the routes are announced. So yeah, it's been pretty busy. Of course, I've been trying to figure out which routes I've got to re-ride, and I've already had some comments on Strava because I was out on Chain Chomper yesterday whilst doing a training program on that. But I guess I was also just trying to recover from the final round or the final race of Richmond last week as well, because that was pretty tough, I have to say. And I was recovering from COVID as well. I'd had 3 weeks on and off with COVID, bit of an injury that we talked a little bit pre-show as well. So I've been trying to fix that. And then just trying to keep in the good books with the coach to get back on plan and ready for the next round that starts January 10th, I think it is. So it's been a busy week.
Yeah. We were talking pre-show about how you were faithfully sticking to your training plan and not racing as much as you'd like. But I think a few people are missing you. So you might get in a cheeky race, and I've just outed you to your coach, who I think might listen to the pod now since he was a guest. And he had a very popular show. Now, I will go back to your coach for a sec because he devastated me during the show by saying that coffee and cream, so an espresso and cream, is no good. I just don't know if I can drink plain black coffee, the little dash of cream. And I messaged him afterwards with a whole bunch of different kind of cold brews and with like a photo of the ingredients, and was like, are any of these good?
That's
Please.
amazing.
And he's like, they are all rubbish. I was like, oh. So, and I had a couple of people message actually and say that show was great, but my heart is broken on the coffee discussion. So what have you changed with your nutrition with having this coach on board now? Because he's quite into that.
Yeah, you know what? He covers so many topics. It kind of blew me away when I first took him on as a coach, and actually amazed me. I know James Bond. I say that every time. I said that in the videos. I keep calling him James Bond. James Barnes, sort of put me in touch with him, and so I immediately got in touch. And he knew more about the way I was racing or not racing, and the sort of where I needed to improve more than I did. And so it's super impressive. Coffee without milk in the mornings, I've also dropped. I am a black coffee normally drinker, but my morning brew is normally a milky cappuccino. But I've dropped that this week myself as well after some of those comments. And also, he's got a background in sort of biomechanics and bike fitting. I think he probably mentioned that last week as well. And people may have seen I have a bit of a leg length difference, which I put a video out this week if you want to go and check it out over on YouTube. But actually, I sent some videos over to Alex, and he spotted it. Even from the grainy videos that I sent him from the cave here. So I was having a few hip problems, adductor problems, and so on. So I went to see a biomechanist here because obviously Alex is in Finland, and it's a little bit difficult to get a pass from Mrs. Bradley at the moment to go to Finland for a couple of days to see Alex. And it turns out everything that Alex had gathered from a very grainy video that was exactly happening. So hopefully we're sorting that. I've now got like a 5mm raise on this right leg in the shoe.
Wow, that's a lot.
So it's quite a bit. I am having a few aches and sort of growing pains, I would say, this last couple of days. But I'm feeling much more comfortable when I'm sat in the saddle. And the power numbers were absolutely all over the place in terms of, where my power through the left and right side, all last summer when I was racing outdoors, like 55% power through the right leg versus 45 on the left. So hopefully those numbers will start to even up, and hopefully at some point I can start to push out some more power as well at some point as I get more efficient. So it's quite a bit's changed, and hopefully I can start to work my way up and not float around the lower A's, but compete a little bit more in these A races. But looking at some of the courses, that might not happen round 3.
Oh, well, I was going to say, watch out round 3. I think that's awesome. My week has been actually getting back on track. I had 2 weeks of really down with kids sick and me sick. And anyway, enough of the sickness. That's in the past. But yeah, it's I actually finally got on and did a hard effort last night with the NZBRO TTT crew. And that was 2 laps of Bologna, which was, as a TTT. It was one of their Christmas special ones, I think. But I was going to do my Everesting on Tuesday, and I've pushed it out a week because I still am not 100%. And I was like, I don't think riding.
Everesting?
Yeah, in real life Everesting. So, there we go. I'm going to try and set the New Zealand record. And my local tri club has been awesome, and they've actually put a thing out, and they're going to have a barbecue running all day. People are going to join me at 4 a.m. And the big thing for me actually is not the climb, it's the descent. I'm really, really bad at descending. And so people are going to pace me on the descent, like go in front of me so I can follow wheels. Anyway, so I went on that Bologna course, which I felt was perfect. I did the whole thing up out of the saddle just to get like the quads, a bit of work. And then next week, I think I'll do the TTT up Alp to Zwift. They usually do that. And I'll try and do that at 100% trainer difficulty. I see that PC Yoda Aaron Bleakley's in the chat, so he'll like that. He told me I should be doing more 100% TD and prep. So I'll do that and try and do, 1 corner out of the saddle, 1 corner in the saddle. And hopefully that'll be enough training for the Everesting. Other than that, I need
some more information on this climb. I mean, how far is the climb? How many repetitions on this climb have you got to do?
Okay, so I'll caveat this by saying it's probably the most unscientific approach to trying to break the New Zealand Everesting record that there's ever been. I think it's around 107 laps of this climb. So it's a fairly short climb, but it's really close to my house. So because I, have 3 young kids, I can't really spend an hour and a half traveling to the perfect climb. And this way as well, it means more people from my community can come and join, because I'm not like, come join me at, in the middle of nowhere, because no one will come. We'll have a barbecue going. I've realized the only advantage I have is that I'm so used to doing like Ironmans where you are having nutrition on the go that I'm going to just have as few stops as possible. Because I've seen in other Everestings, you stop for 5 minutes every hour. that adds up so quickly to be like almost an hour or more of stoppage time. So I'm
Yeah.
really only going to stop maybe every 25 laps. The rest of the time, it's just all nutrition on the go.
That is so cool. And what about? I mean, where do we keep in? Where do we keep up with how this going? Because you can Twitch stream via your phone now. So I'm hoping you're going to have someone running
Yeah.
alongside at some point streaming this. We
Well,
got
do
to
you
make this
know?
happen, Hannah.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about kind of setting up a live stream. I also thought, man, that would be so boring. But I guess people could check in because we're going so long. But the biggest thing I'm paranoid about is my device is running out of battery. So I don't want to waste a battery pack on a live stream and then my Garmin die at like hour 10 and be like, oh no.
Yeah,
So
true.
anyway, if anyone, actually people in the audience will know, if they have got some good tips about actually how to live stream this on the move, that'd be great, because then I will do it because I love my little Twitch streaming. But anyway, enough about my everything. I feel like I've been going on about it forever, but I'll probably talk about it next week too because it'll be way closer. At the moment, I'm like,
And so you should. It's a big thing, honey. You should.
Okay, we'll see. But anyway, Zwift Academy finals wrapped up really quickly. They must have done a show a day because I felt like that was over
Yeah.
pretty much as soon as it began. What were your thoughts on, I guess, the whole thing and then also the winners?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I was literally refreshing the phone, waiting for it to go live that first day, because obviously one of my teammates also was down to do Zwift Academy, made
Oh,
it to the finals with Liz, one of your
oh,
teammates as well,
yes,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
So she was down, and so really gutted for Liz that she got COVID, because I know she travelled out there. And I think she was, in the holding hotel ready to start, and
Oh,
then unfortunately came on with COVID. So that was gutting. But I think, knowing Liz, she's chin up, moved on, and focused on the world, no doubt. And then the other one, Will Loudon as well. He rides for actually one of the local teams here, although he's not local. The team's based here, which is the Watch Shop. You talk about kits on it. The Watch Shop kit, if you ever get a chance to see it in real life, is phenomenal. It's like tiger stripes, but in
oh,
pink and purple.
oh,
But
okay.
it's not as bad as it sounds. I promise, it's quite good. But let's get back. So, and again, another rider struck down with COVID midway through. But I thought it was really good. I actually liked the fact that they did the show every night. I would have
Mm,
liked to have seen a little bit more of the sort of the pre-academy stuff. So the process they went through to get to those finals in a bit more detail. But I guess that's difficult when you've got so many riders, trying to get on to the final five, if you like, to make that pro contract. But yeah, it was great, and obviously some of the finalists there we see racing ZRL week in, week out. So that's also fantastic to see. And again, what I did like as well is the follow up that we had from last season as well. So we got a little bit
yeah.
more insight of what those guys had done this year as well with Maud and things. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I kind of tuned in each night. I actually got my kids to watch it too because they see me on the indoor trainer and then I was kind of showing them like, hey, these are the best riders on the indoor trainers. And so they actually really enjoyed it too. Um, I was a bit disappointed about all the women crashing in the last episode. I
Mm,
felt like it
yeah.
had, and I think that's why they may have asked that leading question at the end, like, do you think this was because they didn't have enough road experience? Because I think it just, like, crashing's never nice, but I was like, oh gosh, everyone's going to go, oh, it's because they're virtual riders and they have no idea how to descend.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I just thought that, like, that was really frustrating just to watch. And also that they took out the pro rider and she broke her wrist. I was like, oh no, that's
Yeah.
like the
Agreed.
worst case scenario. That is so bad. I found, so on the men's side, if I look at it, and I said it on the show last week, I was already heartbroken for Cooper Sayers, the Aussie, because I
Yeah.
just knew he wasn't going to make it because I saw as soon as that rider Luca was there, I was like, oh, he's got everything, right? And I think, yeah, so I felt really bad for Cooper that he'd kind of come back. He's obviously dedicated a lot of time to it, but the level I think has just kind of gone up. Um, and then the thing that I found, I don't know, chime into chat if you thought this as well. It really frustrated me when Luca crossed the finish line at the top of that climb and just was kind of sweet, like just sort of like, oh yeah, like that was a
Yeah.
good time out there. I was like, dude, like put in the effort, like it just kind of so it was kind of an interesting one for me. Like I'm always about like there's two things you can control in life: your attitude and your effort. And I just felt like he didn't, and you could tell the judges thought the same. He was like he's won it by heaps, but has he actually given everything? And if you're not going to give everything in that one, and he hadn't really given everything in all the others either, so I was a little bit disappointed with that. But on the women's side, I mean, you had the one rider who literally stopped. I was like, wow, like that's
Yeah, yeah,
brutal. Like
yeah,
she's
absolutely.
just stopped. And then I just knew they probably weren't going to pick Chiara. Just kind of had a feeling. I think they were going to go for the younger rider who kind of probably has a little bit more kind of potential to give. Maybe Chiari, they think, is kind of at, where she is. But it's always hard when you have a rider who really dominates and then doesn't get selected because then it's not particularly just a power equation there.
Yeah, well, I think what you said though, with Luca on there, when Luca rolled over the top, and because I think the commentary team at GCN, they made a few comments about they wanted to see, the management wanted to see him give all over that climb, and like you say, he wasn't that out of breath when he crossed the top, which is, I guess, is a positive sign. But these guys have got to be able to dig deeper than anyone else and go further, and he just didn't. So I actually thought at that point Luca may not have got selected
Yeah.
based on that. But clearly the numbers spoke for themselves. And I think the other thing about that crash was the British girl, and obviously when they had that big coming together on that climb, just cracked on and finished anyway,
Yeah.
despite Chiara riding into the wall there. But yeah, I get what you're saying about the crashing. I think we were all prepared for some comments from non virtual cyclists, but positive, and let's see what these guys can do over the next year, I guess, or the next two
Yeah.
years,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. I'll be I think as well there's quite a lot on the line for both. One with the women, they've got the Tour de France Femme of Zwift, they've got Strada Bianchi, so they've got these big races now. So I think, as we know, the spotlight is going to be on women's racing, and that's just going to bring sponsors and more money and more riders into it. So I think the next 5 years in women's cycling will see a huge lift. And then on the men's side, the Alpecin team's just been signed up to be a world tour team. So now
Yeah,
those
that's it.
those finalists are now on a world tour team, which is crazy considering,
I,
there are other riders sitting out there like Mark Cavendish who can't, is he on Astana now, but he can't find a team. So yeah.
no, absolutely. I also hope that we see more updates, more regulation. I don't want to wait until next
Yeah.
year to see the progress these guys are making. I'd like to see maybe some smaller shows
Yeah.
mid-year, or through the year, and actually learn about the process that they've gone through with the pro team or joining that pro team over the next 12 months. The testing, the assessments, the biomechanical stuff, the detail of fitting and bikes,
Yeah.
and learn a little bit about that process as a new rider immediately jumping into a pro team like that. So hopefully, if Zwift will listen or GCN listen, can we make that happen?
Oh yeah, well I do know that the Zwift production crew does listen every week, so they will have heard you saying that, because I find out if I get in a bit of trouble for things I've said or not.
Well, yeah, I don't want any negative emails after this. Often, that's for sure. So I've got to. Don't forget, I've got to try and negotiate a pass to get onto this new Scotland route at some stage as well.
Oh,
So, again, if anyone at HU can assist with that, it'd be
oh,
great,
there we
because I've got to
go.
get this recon done somehow. So,
Help Cy out, guys. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on, and I know that Carsten is in the chat, and he came into my Twitch last night, and I think it was him, was asking about, whether I'd done this Pack Dynamics 4.0, trialed it out. I haven't. I literally have like 4 rides a week, and they're all filled up with other things. But I think the thing you wanted to talk about, and Sai, I know you've watched a few streams on it. Apparently, recently, people have noticed. So, if you don't know what Pack Dynamics 4.0 is, Zwift is kind of trialing, which I like, as you can tell, because it's up to level 4 now, is tweaking the dynamics so that it becomes a lot more realistic and a lot more fun in races. I think there's been, a few complaints recently, or over the last couple of years, that the pack moves too quickly. It's hard to have breakaways. The draft is sort of a little bit funny sometimes. And I think whatever we're up to now, 3 or 3.5 or something, I love it. It's great. But yeah, they're making improvements now. One of them is to sort of slow down pack speed a bit so that you can, have a breakaway that's successful.
Yeah.
But something that's come out recently that Carson was talking about was an auto kind of brake checking when you're moving around and you're sort of coming up to a rider. What do you think about that side? Have you seen that in action, or?
Yeah. I've watched a few streams over on Twitch. What Wheelhouse, I think, did a video on it as well recently, last week. He live streamed one of the Pack Dynamic 4.0 streams there, and I don't know. It was something I wasn't expecting. I think slowing down, the group, the peloton, the blob is absolutely the right thing. I'd like to see more breaks go and have a chance of staying away on certain courses. Braking, I've ridden a few other platforms where braking is part of that process, and I've not enjoyed the experience myself. I don't know if that's because I'm just an out and out Zwift rider, and I've been doing it for a long time, and I understand the dynamics and the racing on there. I just didn't get on with braking on any of the other platforms, because there's a few platforms out there that have braking. But with anything, I think it's going to take time. The minute you introduce something like this, it's going to take time for the old school Zwifters like yourself to get used to these new ideas and new ways of thinking. It's obviously, you're in a difficult situation. I like the fact that they're trying and testing these things out in the community, and it's great to get feedback. And it's great that they are listening, and hopefully they keep taking it on board. We keep trying these things, and we get a full release once it's as close to perfect as we can. So I'm going to hold back judgment, because it's I have tried it before, but let's see what these guys are doing. It'd be add some gamification to it again, even further, and some additional skill. Because there's a lot of level 50, level 60 riders out there who've been on the platform. Maybe we need to throw in something new to the mix to make it a bit more interesting and exciting. So I'm holding back judgment just at this moment. Okay.
I'm always excited by things that are new and shiny. And like I said, I loved when they released this 3.0 or something. It was a little while back, just because I thought the pack, I'm not an in real life rider, so I have no idea what it's like to ride in a pack, but I know from watching that you can see when a pack slows down, because when the peloton slows down, all the riders are along the front, and it just kind of, looks like that. And then if it speeds up, it goes into that kind of, arrowhead formation, and then you get the lead out trains. And I think I love that now, because you can visually see when you're riding when things have slowed. So you can just kind of slow it and know that, hey, that's a great time to attack, or I can take a recovery, and there's a diamond shape, someone's pushing pace somewhere, I don't know who it is, but let's go. So I really, really liked that. And I think if there's any improvement on that ability for a breakaway, that would love it. So from like a
absolutely
commentator point of view, the races you watch where someone has actually achieved a breakaway and they've made it stick is just the most exciting thing ever. And then I guess if we go like, really awesome would be some way to have that lead out train opportunity. So enough of a sort of way that you can feather the draft so precisely that you can keep a train in a pack and then lead your sprinter to the line. Like, again, that would be awesome.
That'd be so cool. So cool. But it'd be interesting to see how it's going to, mention that, it's going to be interesting to see how it affects the team time trial as well moving forward, because, that's another thing. I watched, Nathan did he's been doing these review videos of his own ZRL races, right? So I saw he did the time trial one. And I've done a few time trial science videos, but of course it's changed with 3.0. It'll change again with 4.4. But Nathan, if you're going to watch a YouTube video on team time trial, go and watch Nathan's stream or Nathan's video that he did 2 or 3 weeks ago on the team time trial. He gets a bit heated with his teammates at times, but some of the things he was talking about, I'd never seen in action before in a team time trial. So again, just as we're getting to the time when we're honing these team time trial tactics, it'd be interesting to see how it has an effect, because what I did notice on the stream I watched with the braking is that the numbers were flashing red in the sort of the top hand corner. So there's some visual indication there that the bikes, or you're braking, or you're backing off the power, or it's auto backing off. It was difficult to tell. So again, it'd be interesting.
Okay.
It's going to make that team time trialing even more difficult. But
Yeah.
I know there's a few people in chat, a few team time trial experts in chat. Aaron's in chat as well, I think, from NZBRO. He's normally an expert in these things. So maybe that's the next test, team time trial with Dynamic 4.
Yeah, and what you just said there before we move on to our last topic, and then we'll hit the ZRL, is when you just said there, like the flashing comes up with the braking. God, I hope they don't do that, because when I've raced an RGT a couple of times, and that flashing brakey thing, like it just did my head in.
Yeah.
Like I just hated it. Like it just, I don't know. I don't like too much going on. Like I don't like flashiness, like things that are changing too much. Like I'm okay with heart rate and power just moving the numbers, because you can kind of ignore it a little bit. But yeah, anything that flashes or does something, I really, really dislike it. So, don't.
What I will say is it was quite subtle, and I think if I was racing, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. But it was only because I was watching the stream. Just the wattage numbers in the top left-hand corner very, very quickly would just flash red.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, not like RGT, where it really, you really is quite noticeable. It was really quite subtle. But hey, let's see. I'm excited. Any development, I'm excited.
Okay. Okay. Last thing I wanted to chat about was the Festive 500. Now, a different chat, I think, from what people may expect. So I actually saw don't ask me who posted it, but I saw something on Instagram, I think it was, and I don't even know who the person was, but it was a really, really great post about the Festive 500, which essentially said, hey, this is really great, but remember, this time is actually when most of you are on holiday, and most of the time it should be prioritized to friends and family and relaxing and getting ready for the year ahead. So, I mean, from knowing when I've done Festive 500, in years past, and I've got 3 little kids, and it was riding for 2 hours every night, sometime until 11 o'clock at night, just to get in those last Ks, a lot of rides with Coco Cadence at the time. So I think just as a little sort of reminder to everyone, don't feel like you have to do it. I know we see a goal there and we go, oh yes, let's knock that one off. But just remember that it kind of does take time away, that you could be going, hey, maybe I haven't seen that friend in a while. A lot of us have had a funny few years of not seeing people. So yeah, just maybe think about that. That was my little PSA on the Festive 500.
No, I think you're right. It should be a pilgrimage to do at some point, but it's not something I'm with you. It's not something I could do every year. I think it's, I mean, first of all, Alex the coach wouldn't let me do it, I think, now, because I've got to stick to plan. But also, I want to, it's about spending time with the family and kids. So yeah, I could go with that, Anna.
Yeah. Nice. Well, there we go. We've done our little happy priorities PSA. Okay, into the meat of the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
The ZRL Round 3 route reveal. So before we go into the routes, I do want to touch on a couple of things. One is that I felt quite proud of myself with this. I got to say that I went over to the WTRL website and I just was like, oh, is my team registered? Oh, let's have a look at the scoring. Has anything changed? And lo and behold, there was a new line in there called SBP. It's like, what is SBP? It's not FTS, it's not FAL. It is segment battle points. Now, I messaged Martin and was like, please give me a teaser or tell me what this is. So it's not released yet, but he would say that it's going to put everybody against everybody. So every single person will score a point with segment battle points, and it'll be a race within a race. So that's kind of interesting, because unlike FTS, which goes they both go 10 deep, FTS and FAL, both 10 deep, different kind of point structure. Segment battle points is for every single person out there. What are you thinking? Because he also said this has allegedly never ever been done on Zwift before. I mean, conjecture. What do you think, Si? What could this be?
I can tell you, I have spent 3 days hounding everyone I know. Within Zwift, I've messaged Eric Schlange at Zwift Insider a few times. I was messaging you as you were messaging me, thinking, do you know anything? I honestly don't know. I mean, it was briefly mentioned midway through the last round that something would change. But sometimes you see these posts on Facebook and you're like, will it happen this time? Will we wait for the next season? But it's coming, it's happening this time. But I genuinely have no idea. So when you sort of teased me last night to say that you were, be careful how I say that, but you were talking to Martin over at WTRL, then I was quite excited. So I don't know. I couldn't even take a guess, to be honest. I'm clearly not intelligent enough to work on these point systems.
Okay.
But yeah, it'd be interesting. But I think it's one of the gripes that we needed to solve with NZRL, that if you're not at the sharp end, particularly on some of the more sprint heavy stages, how can, apart from the finish line points, how can more people play a role in the team? So a great idea, and let's see what spring. I hope we get some more information before I've got to record the recon at some point between Christmas and New Year. So
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to hound Martin and the team at Zwift myself to try and get some information.
Well, I mean, if I look at it sort of, okay, so you've got FAL, so it's not going to be anything like FAL. It's not going to be anything like FTS. Obviously, we've already got those. Now, I know from running events, those are the two like automatic ways you can get points running through into a point system. So this is, if it's something new, either they've had to build in a complete new structure to get these points.
Yeah, you're going to have to do it outside of Zwift Power, I guess.
Exactly, which I think Martin does anyway. I think he pulls it into his own system, which is why he can do this and probably why it hasn't been done. And then I was thinking, okay, well, the simplest thing would be everyone gets points at a segment and it goes all the way through the field. But then I'm like, well, that's pretty much FAL, right? Because, or FTS, depending on how you do it, it just goes deeper. So why wouldn't you just do FAL and FTS the whole way through? And then I thought last night, what about if it was a segment? Because we're looking at segment battle points. And I initially thought, okay, everyone's battling on a segment. What if it's a segment between each other? Like it's a battle between segments. I don't know how they would do that. But as a team, you could insert tactics as in like, we will go for a battle on this segment, like this sprint. And then another team might say, we're going to go for this thing on a climb. So I don't know. I was kind of like, maybe that's...
Well, now you've mentioned that, what about you're going to have certain riders on certain courses. So take the Neon Flats course this time around, which is a very sprint heavy course, like most of the Neokio's courses. You're going to have 2 or 3 riders in each team, if you're lucky, that can dominate the points in that area. So how about if you have to nominate a rider per team that are not getting FTS, not getting FAL, but have to battle it out with other riders who wouldn't normally get the points? Maybe that's another way. We've got to nominate a rider who will battle it out against other riders in that segment. I don't know. What do the community think?
I know, exactly. And I think... I really want to know, because at the moment I'm trying to pick my teams, because as everybody knows, we're taking down 2024 next round. And I need to know what this is to be able to pick the right team. So I'm hoping we're going to find out soon. But anyway, that's on our segment battle points. We will be dissecting that as soon as Martin releases it. Poor guy, he's probably getting the last things. He's announced it and now he's like, oh no.
I can imagine the inbox is pretty full.
Oh yeah, it's so bad. Okay, we'll talk about power-ups as we go through each course as well. So what we'll do is same as what we've done in the last route reveals, is we'll just go through each route sort of one by one. So we're starting with race 1. That's the 10th of January. I'm just going to say as well, I'm going to be on holiday at a beach for the first 2. And this is a total little side note. And my husband was like, hey, how are we going to fit all of our stuff in the car? We've got like 5 bikes, a buggy, porta cot, all of that stuff. And I was like, don't forget my fan, my trainer, like the bike to go on the trainer. He's like, what? I was like, I cannot miss these first 2 races. And it's also going to be about 30 degrees. And I Zwift outside where we are because there's no place to go inside. So yeah, it's going to be an adventure. Anyway, race number 1, Chain Chomper. Now, when I did my team sort of availability roster, and I have like a 3-star system, like one star is I don't want to really race this one unless you're desperate, and 3 stars I love it. I put 3-star on. I put 3-star on everything. A lot of the team put a 1-star on this one. So I don't know what the deal is. Si, what's up with this course? Why would
Yeah.
some people not like this?
It's that temple reverse climb, I think. Well, it's actually both climbs because they're pretty much back to back. You go up this castle climb and then you're straight onto the temple. Of course, this does raise the question about bike swap again with some categories. Personally, I think it's a final lap only change because there's just so much road on this. And of course, well, if you look at those segments as well, I don't think the segment count is quite right there because this is a full lap plus a half a lap. So I believe we're going to finish at the top of the temple reverse climb. I rode it yesterday, so that is 23 kilometers there. So all of those segments you're going to be doing twice because the pens are before the the country forward sprint there. So I think they should be times two for the FTS and FTS FAL. But I guess it's that temple reverse climb. It's just at the sort of the right and the wrong distance because it's like 4 to 6 minutes on dirt. So it just saps the legs, and you've got to do it twice on this. So I like this course, but
So
you've got to
sorry, you've
have
got
a
to
good.
do the climb twice.
Well, essentially, you start at the pens, just by that water section on the bottom right-hand corner of your map there, and then you'll head towards the country sprint forward.
Uh-huh.
Then you take the castle
Oh.
climb. Then you'll do the temple reverse climb, back round, back through the sprint, back up the castle climb, and you'll finish at the top of temple reverse climb.
Oh.
That's the way I get it. So yeah, you're going to be doing both of those climbs twice on this way because it's a lap and a half essentially that we're doing. Whereas normally the chain chomper will finish on the banner of the country forward sprint, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, lap and a half. So doing that temple climb twice is a bit of a battle because it's 4 to 6 minutes of pain and suffering up there, and it's not an easy climb. And again, on that last lap, as I've said before, with some categories and some races, if the group is small enough, a bike swap to a gravel bike will be the right option if you've got the right system, of course, because it's not so easy, I know, with Apple TV. So yeah, I mean, personally, I put a 3-star by your ranking on there, but I can also understand why, maybe again the sprinters want to avoid a 6 to 8 minute climb and save the legs for later on in the series.
Yeah, I
That's my take.
personally, well, maybe I just like racing too much, but yeah, I personally really like this one. I even kind of like it more knowing that this will finish at the top of the climb. Um, now, this
Yep.
is, I have really got to work on team tactics for this one because for the whole round, because I think we were on the back foot a little bit in round two and we kind of just were, I guess, like a bit too, we weren't on the offensive enough. And I don't think we did anything that kind of mixed things up enough. And so I think looking at this is where, if you're talking bike swap, and already I can see in chat, people are like bike swap, is you can dedicate a rider to just do that. So like that's personally probably what I would do is just say, look, and to be
Yep.
honest, it would probably be someone like myself, is I'm going to do a bike swap because I can do it pretty quick, and just go up there and go all out for FTS. I actually had this, not on this course,
Yeah.
but it had the climb. Did this in round one, I think it was, where I had a power drop. And so I was off the back anyway. And changing to a gravel bike, I like easily got FTS going up there. And I was way back from the group with no draft. So it is a good strategy to just gather a whole bunch of points. And then just sacrifice that rider. And then if, like you said, if it finishes at the top again, just do it again and get fastest through and second fastest through if they are going to do it twice up there. So,
Yeah, can't disagree with that at all. I think if that's your main focus, absolutely, then that's the right choice. And I think those are the teams at the top are the ones that are making those strategic decisions and nominating riders like that in advance. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
yeah, exactly. So I think the other thing is if you are going to do a bike swap, check out, gosh, who was it? Aaron or no? or Aaron actually sent it to me. Maybe it was Aaron. Someone did a live stream of a voice controlled bike swap.
Yeah.
So go get that sorted, because that will make it a lot easier for you. Although I always panic with that because I feel like my voice sounds different when I'm panicking, and I feel like I'll be like,
I was just about to say that.
Bike swap!
When you're out of breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Power-ups.
The other thing, I guess, is, I was just going to say about the power-ups. It's good to see, I have to say, the steamroller not there, because it's an obvious one where you could put the steamroller.
Oh, it is there.
But I think, no.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking anvil.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just saying. I think, so you've got the anvil, the feather, and the aero. So I'm glad the steamroller's not there, because I just think that the effect on the dirt is just too strong. It can change the race completely on this. Having said that, I do remember they had the anvil on this course before, and I did a bike swap, and got a gap at the top. Tried to make a change at the top, and someone with an anvil flew past me on the descent there. So again, some good power ups, all effective, something for everyone there. The feather, the aero on the country sprint will be really good. Not as effective on the finishing, so I'll be praying for a feather only on that one. But all good power ups. Again, if the group is reduced, it's likely to be one long line all the way up that temple reverse climb, even on the first time, because it comes so quickly after that climb. That anvil could be used quite effectively down the other side. Again, if you've seen people do bike changes, that could be really useful for closing gaps on that descent before you're back on the road. So I'm happy with this course. No complaints for me.
3 stars from Sai and Anna. Okay, race number 2. Now, I do want to say there has been some chat, and now I don't want to bias because I know our team isn't the best at team time trials. I don't want 2 team time trials. I just don't want it. I love the dynamics of racing. Team time trials are fun. That's why there's a whole WTRL team time trial, thing that I do on Thursday nights, and it's really cool. I just hate it in ZRL. Like, I don't know if I'm the only one. Like, I don't hate it enough to not have 1. I'm kind of like, cool, let's have 1, get out of the way. 2 in a 6 races, because I think, last season we had, 8 races with 2 team time trials?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm actually going to send Martin a note after this. And again, I don't want to be biased, but I'm like, ditch a team time trial and add back in out and back again. So we'll see what everyone comes up with. But anyway, that's my little rant on I don't want 2 team time trials. It's almost season over for us with this one, with 2, just because you have riders who, sometimes aren't so great at Zwift craft, but they can just put out power, and there we go. You can do reasonably well in a TTT. But Magnificent 8. Now, Nathan Guerra's in the chat. He agrees. So I think we've got enough firepower here to ask Martin to change this. But Magnificent 8, I mean, it's before I actually knew that this was a TTT and I just saw that it was a route, I was also kind of like, this is would have been a cool race route to have a segment in that desert again. Yeah. But what are your thoughts, team time trial?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you generally. I think now it's a 6-race series. I just want to see 1, and I like to see early on in the series as well, like this one. I think this is a good course. This is a testing time trial course, though, because you have got the Zwift KOM in there, KQOM, should I say, quite early on in the course. So it is challenging. You've got to make sure you get, particularly on a Tuesday, because you've only got 6 riders as well. You've got to pretty much make sure you get 6 riders, because then you've got long flat sections through the flats of the desert and the Fuego. So it's challenging, and you've got to be really, really communicating a lot. But there's some great opportunities. There's something for everyone. Again, if you can get all the team over, the power teams, the teams that they know what they're doing in terms of the roll through, again, go and watch Nathan's video on the flats, can really make a difference. So yeah, again, good course. We've done this before. I think we did this last year. So whatever season that was, this time last year. But I checked my recon videos, and it was exactly pretty much 12 months ago to the day when we've done this before. So yeah, good time trial course, good mix, good distance as well. And I think it's a good time for a lot of, time-wise for all categories there. But yeah, let's just leave it at this one and get that race 6 moved to race 5 instead, I think.
So what's the deal with the power-up, the drafting power-up? Now, I see it there again. I know last round it was there as well, but it only worked for if you're on a road bike. So is it just for people who have a huge aversion to being on a TT bike and they've got something there, or will it work with TT bikes, do you think?
It does work with TT bikes. If I yeah, I'm 90% sure because we had this discussion on the last race as well. So I'm 99% sure it definitely does work with the time trial bikes. I don't know if that's a WTRL only thing. I honestly don't do too many time trials. But it definitely worked on the last race there with WTRL. So draft fan again, it's just about communicating. Um, we're going to see some fast time set, I would say.
Yeah.
Whether it makes a big enough difference to set some record times on there if we've got drafts, because I don't think they typically have a draft on a Thursday or power ups on a Thursday
Oh, they
night.
don't.
Be interesting. 6 riders with a power up. Could they break 8 rider times? Again, Nathan in chat, he might have an idea on that one. But yeah, it's fine. I think there's 3 occasions. You're going to have top of the KQOM. You'll have 1 segment through the Fuego Flats. And is there a 3rd segment banner that will go through on
Somewhere in the
Magnificent 8?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's just the KQOM and the Fuego Flats banner. So yeah, 2 opportunities I think on this course to pick that up. But I'm
and
sure
you'll get
correct me if I'm wrong.
you'll get a power up out of the pens, right? When you go under the
Yeah, you will.
banner.
You're right.
Yeah, so
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay. Race number 3. Now, this one excites me. I mean, I'm 3 stars on everything, even the TTTs. But this one excites me now because we've got the segment up the leg snapper. If we didn't have that segment up the leg snapper, which I don't think we definitely didn't do last round. I don't think we've hit this in WTRL yet with the segment there. Maybe round 1.
Correct.
Like a lifetime
No, you're right.
No,
you're right. We didn't.
So if we didn't have that new segment, I'd kind of be like, okay, Innsbruck ring. But now we've got that. I'm like, yes, because with our mutual teammate Liz Van Helling, I did a course around here and raced her up there as a practice, and it was so fun and it was really great. So I'm quite looking forward to this one, and yeah, it's a tried and true. It's a good test, but I think just with that segment, there is a lot more chance of a breakaway to the line, because if you make it up that segment with a bit of a gap and you can just hold it on the down, this is where I potentially would have preferred to see an anvil as well, because you could use the anvil on the down. You could get FAL through the last time on the sprint, and then you could almost take that all the way to the line. But yeah, Sai, what are you giving this as a star rating?
Yeah, I think this is another 3. I've said this numerous occasions. This is one of my favourite courses in Zwift, full stop. Especially in Nominee, because I could just about survive the snapper with the A's. Anything longer, generally, I've been spat out the back somewhere and trying to find the laughing group at the back. But yeah, I love this course. I mean, I don't know what races you've done, Anna, but even without this segment, this leg snapper strung out the riders and caused gaps. So they almost treated it like a segment anyway, I think, when you get on this course, because it's pretty much the only place on the course that if you want to try and break the group down, that's the only place you can do it. And you're right, though, it's not just about the climb. I've also done the famous Liz Van Helwyn leg snapper repeats. But it is about that descent over the other side as well. You know, if you're not on a wheel as you kick off, as you take that right hand turn there, it takes a lot of work to get back in, and that sprint comes so quickly as well after that descent. It's not a short sprint, this one either. So this is a really tough course, but if you really have got that punch, this will suit those punchy riders, as you know the final race of the last round did also, round Richmond. But again, adding the segment, that's just a Sadie's trick, adding the leg snapper into a segment there, because that's going to rip the legs off. But it'd be interesting, again, are riders going to be able to roll over the top and still hold on to take the FTS through the forward sprint as well after going all out on that leg snapper? Again, I think you've got to balance your team here and maybe alternate your laps if you're going for the FTS. You're still going to have to work to stay in a decent sized group through the leg snapper. But is the same rider in all divisions and all races going to be able to do the snapper and the sprint and pick up FEL and FTS? I think not. So you're going to have to think about nominating some riders for these particular segments. But it's another one of those courses where, yeah, riders are going to be all over the route for sure.
And I think nice to see that it's 35 kilometers, which is still, it's not short, but, it's not, we're not looking down the barrel of a kind of Richmond course where it's, near on 50K, adding an extra lap here. And that just, it just becomes such a huge race of attrition. I think the power-ups to, what you're saying there with team tactics, I think if you've got a team where you've at least got kind of 4 of the 6 of you who will always be in that front pack, is you've got to just have the flexibility of tactics based on power-up, in my opinion. So if you, because thinking about when you'd get the power-up, you're just going to get it at the start-finish banner before you go towards that leg snapper. Now, if one of you's got a feather, now I'd be saying, okay, well, you're all in for the climb. And the other 2, if they've got an aero or a draft, or the other 3, you're going to have to say, hold on to that, because we need to know that you can use that for the sprint afterwards. So I'm all about taking away chance. So, game theory is, just putting as much in your control as possible. Nathan, if he's still watching, will love that, because I'm a control freak. But I have found that works. So don't, dropping an aero on the leg snapper, there's not a huge benefit there. The steepness is you're not going to have a draft anyway, and so the drafting power up won't work. So don't be afraid to hold on to those, and then know for sure that you've got them at the next sprint. Because I think what I've seen is that the people who do that, like I've looked around and gone, why is that person not dropping a power up here? Because they must have one, and then they've strategically and really well placed used it further on, and just know that they've got it. So yeah, that would be my advice on this one.
Yeah, I think so. You've got to be making those decisions on the fly. You've got to be on chat. If you're competing at the sharp end as a team, you've got to be doing that. And I think, admittedly, when I remember season 1, a couple of years back now, a lot of the time we wouldn't get on Discord. We just race. I know I've said this before. We'd race for the victory. But now, pretty much every race, there's something going on in terms of power-ups or strategic decisions in terms of segments that you've got to be on Discord for all routes now.
Yeah.
And like I say, and be prepared to make those decisions. So, yeah, good shout.
Cool. Okay, race number 4, which I don't know a whole lot about. I don't feel like I know this course very well. I've definitely raced it, but it's not Sprinters Playground, which I know very well. This is Neon Flats. So another scratch race, 2 laps, around 30K for the A races, I think. Might be the same for the others. Now we've got Aero, Draft, Ghost, which I think Ghost is really, really good in Neokyo. Now the reason I say that is because there's so much you're in that dark landscape. There's a lot of lights going on. You kind of see all the jerseys out, and it's really easy to miss a ghost. From the squiggly lines down there, it looks as though you go through the arcade here. Do you? But if we...
Yeah, you will go through the arcade for sure. Yeah, towards the end. Yeah.
The arcade, great place to drop a ghost, in my opinion. It's so hard to see people off the front there with that carpet that you're riding over. So I love that power-up's here. And mostly, it's not Sprinters Playground, but it's got 3 sprints each lap. Now, I'm looking at the sprints there. We've got...
actually, you do Castle Park twice.
Okay.
You've got that sort of funny loop at the left-hand side as you look at the map there, as you go through the park. So you go through Castle Park Sprint, you then loop around the harbour area and then back in to the Castle Park Sprint again before doing the rest of the course, then getting on with the rest of the course and heading towards the arcade. So you start with Tower Sprint, then Alley Sprint, and then you've Alley Sprint, and then you've got 2 Castle Park Sprints back to back, essentially. So again, it's like last time we were in Yokio, you're going to have a lot of sprints. I think last time it was was a 12 sprints that we did on the last one. And this is 3 laps. So same again, right? Is it 3 laps, this one we said? Or 2 laps?
2 laps. 2 laps.
2 laps,
30K,
yeah. So,
yeah.
So again, it's 8 sprints in total. So not quite the 12 that we've done before. But again, it's all about that decision making. When I generally do these courses, race these with the team, What we tend to do is alternate the sprints with a couple of sprinters, because there's no way with some of these sprints as well are pretty long. Alley Sprint is a long one. Tower Sprint is longish. Castle Park is just over 300 meters, if I remember rightly, on that one. So doing them back to back, generally speaking, when you're Nokia, you get about 1,000 or a kilometer to 2 kilometers in between each one. And when you're in a big group, that recovery time is pretty short. So unless you're an absolute beast and your recovery is absolutely on point, you're going to have to rotate around riders for sure. But yeah, good course and a good. I just think there's a good mix this time. You know, we've got a puncher's course, we've got that chain chomper early on, which is you've sort of got that 4 to 6 minute climb, and then we've got an out and out sprint. So far, these first 4 stages, I'm really happy with. I think it's a really good mix, something for everyone, and a challenge. I know there'll be some complaints that there isn't like an out and out long climb, but I think that chain chomper is, along with Castle Climb, is enough in my opinion. Excuse me, chat, if they think differently. But again, I like this. And power ups, Ghost, I still think should be longer.
Yes,
but again,
15.
I think, yeah, again, 30 might be too long, but it just needs to be extended a little bit. But again, you time that right, disappear just as you sneak off the front. That Ghost could be really super effective for some FAL and finish line points here. But it's also a really interesting finish, yes, because obviously you come through the arcade, people always go early on this finish.
I've perfected the Ghost on Castle Park Sprint. So I love that they've got Ghost there. I just know exactly when to drop it, that I can get away and stay away. Again, really, really awesome course for Ghost. Just so many places you can, because I think, with the Ghost only being 10 seconds, in any other world, it just doesn't work. So you've got to be at the front of the pack to actually get the 10-second advantage, but everyone sees you disappear. Whereas in Neokyo, just because there's so much going on, you do disappear, even if you're at the front of the pack and people don't always notice. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. I do like the little climb in there sometimes. So I don't know what Neokyo course it could be that we could have in another round, where you have the sprints, but then also the rooftop KQOM. Because I do like that one, is just to mix it up a little bit and break things up. Because most people get back on, but it does just detonate the legs a little bit. Okay, here we go. Another TTT.
Yeah. And it's a proper TT course, this one, RGV. Was it Route Grande Vitesse? I think it's called. We've done this plenty of times before. It's used frequently on a Thursday night. It's inoffensive, I would say, as a team time trial course. Again, it's one for the tacticians. It's one for the slightly bigger, stronger wattage riders, I would say. There's only really one tricky section on this. I know we've got the aqueducts. I mean, is it a KOQOM? I'm not quite sure. That's about the only thing. But then you've just got that twisty section that comes down the river as you head back towards the marina, where, again, if you've lost riders, you just need to be a little bit cautious on there. But the rest of the course is pretty inoffensive. It's just those really tight, twisty bends down by the river as you head back, where you have to watch it if you're down to 4 or 5 riders. But and a good distance as well. I think that's a good distance for all categories there at 25k. So again, you're not going to be on the road for too long with that one with 6 riders.
Absolutely. So that little squiggly bit is called les intestines. So the intestines. Wow. There we go. Which is kind of not great to think about when you're on that part, because it'll make you feel pretty ill. I would say there's 2 kind of, not danger points, but points where you could potentially have to drop a rider. Is also where you've gone over the aqueduct and you take the right-hander, so you don't go up the petite, but you go into sort of the balloon sprint area.
Yeah, balloon sprint straight.
Yeah, it's just got a lot of up and down. And the ups are just that long enough that if someone's really struggling, it just puts a nail in the coffin. I would be looking at that area that you could end up dropping down to 5 riders and then dropping one last rider if you're doing that kind of strategic dropping in the les intestines part, which is also a little bit... I don't know what camera angle you use, but with camera angle 1, you can feel really...
I don't say if Nathan's in the chat. I'm not saying.
Okay, you can feel a little bit ill in there because it's so twisty turny, especially on TT
Yeah,
bikes.
yeah.
I don't know if anyone listening or watching did the Bologna TTT last night, but man, there were parts of that downhill where my head was spinning out because you're doing these hairpins at like 100k an hour, and for some reason, just the look of a TT bike, you're just kind of winding around. So yeah, just be careful. You might need the spew bucket next to you for that last little part of the race if you've pushed it hard and then getting motion sickness as well.
Yeah, we'll just stick with camera 3 like me. You're all fine.
There we go. Okay, so this is the last one, which is not actually the last one. So I'm not going to click on it. So in case you haven't seen the out and back again, even though I was actually personally very excited about this route.
We all were, yeah.
Yeah, we're all a bit excited. We're actually going to be heading to Scotland, but because the new Scottish Mick is a little bit embargoed with, as Si mentioned, he can't even get on there to recon it. It'll be embargoed, I think, until World Champs. So we may not know about this till very close to race day, which is kind of good because it means that, people don't know the course. It's unfamiliar, and that just throws up a whole bunch of cool tactics you can try because people don't really know what you're going to do. So race 6 is Scotland. It's going to be a 3-lap route. There'll be 2 segments per lap. There'll be a bit of climbing, around 32 kilometers and about 260 meters of ascent. So if you're looking at kind of what's up there at the moment, that would be a little bit less. Some of the
Yorkshire courses are similar as well.
Yeah, I'd say, Innsbruck Ring there is 308. So if you're looking at, I think, it'll be 3 laps with a minor climb on each lap and probably a sprint on each lap is what my guess would be. And I think, if you want to recon something similar, like elevation wise, like you said, I think the Yorkshire courses, from looking at what Scotland looks like, it's very bumpy with very little flat. Yeah. I don't think the climb will be anything too crazy, but I think it could be similar to that Yorkshire KQOM. You're from that part of the world. And that part of the world is Scotland close enough to Yorkshire?
Not really.
Okay.
But just looking at, I've seen some of the course profiles. I think Eric over at Zwift Insider put some of the information out there that is out in the public domain. So I looked at some of the Yorkshire courses, some of the shorter ones, and I think it's going to be similar. Looking at the profile of those courses, it's constantly up and down. Whereas like Innsbruck, like say you've got the snapper on the Innsbruck ring. It looks like it's constantly up and down on these profiles, which is why I think it could be a little bit closer to Yorkshire, maybe. But it'd be interesting. Hopefully, like I say, I can get on at some stage. But I know there's rumours that we may have some access in January anyway. So hopefully there is opportunity for us to go and ride some of these, some of these routes in this particular course before we race it on Valentine's Day. I think this one is, right?
Isn't that lovely? Yes, it is Valentine's Day.
How romantic.
I know. Get on your bike without your spouse and partner and...
Yeah.
Okay, so overall, you said you liked it because there's, a bit for the punchers, a bit for the sprinters, a bit of a mix-up. Yep. I'm excited for a new world, and apparently Scotland is going to be great for races, so it could be very tactical. I like the power-ups that are on offer. I also am very, very excited about segment bonus points when that gets released to see exactly what that could be, because I know we've kind of talked on the show. Battle points. Sorry. Battle points. I think we've talked a bit on the show about the need to kind of reduce the impact of FTS so much.
Yep.
So what are you excited about, Si?
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think there's a really good mix there. Let's just get rid of one of the TTs. Get out and back in there. Or if we don't see out and back this time, I want to see it in the next season because I do think that's a great course. The power-ups, again, I just hope they work this time because we know we had a few issues last time. So if they're there, they're on the list. Let's make sure they work. I know a lot of people didn't. I don't mind people not getting them. But if they're going to work, they need to be pretty consistent across the board. But I know that's something that the whole team over at Zwift and WTRL have been working on. But I like it. I think there's something for everyone, for sure. So just excited to see what we see in Scotland. If you see it popping up on my Strava in the next couple of weeks, I'm probably recording. And there's plenty of recon races coming up, no doubt, from the usual teams and clubs out there. Get some of your training done on these courses over the festive break.
I'd say, yeah, that's a great tip as well. And I know your coach, Alex, actually said that when he was on the show and we said, what's the best thing to do in prep for ZRL round 3? And he said, get on and recon the courses. Yep. So get on and, I'm already looking at this and being like, this is actually kind of good interval session. So go ride the Chain Chomper course and go hard on each of the climbs, do 2 laps of it, Go head on to Innsbruck Ring, do 4 laps and go full in for the climb, then try and do a sprint and then sprint for the finish.
Yep.
Then, so go mix your training up with the routes, I think. So that was great advice from your coach. And I think that you'll see a whole lot of us, me included, out there riding some of these courses.
Yep. Fantastic.
Okay, so we're into Nathan's favorite part of the show, and I bet it is yours too, Si, not just mine, is that
I've been excited about to see this. Yeah, I've been excited about this part.
Okay, so Let's just Jersey of the week, of course, festive period on Zwift. I almost always forget that this jersey is there until I see people riding with it. Now, it's a little bit of an Easter egg for people. So I'm sure everyone who listens to this show would know exactly how to find this. But what you do is during the Christmas period, so I don't know when it gets activated, so it's a bit of a surprise that time, but you just select the Zwift basic jersey, not the orange one, but the kind of grey one. And then ta-da, you go out and you've got a Christmas themed jersey. I love myself a Christmas themed jersey. And it looks really good. It's got the hot pink detailing on the shorts. It's got the hot pink Z. It's got the hot pink cuff collar. And you've got sort of a nice motif on the back, snowflakes, mountains, and then some helmets in there. I think it looks good. Si, I know you like your fashion, especially with Next Level.
Level Velo, yeah.
Levo Velo.
Yeah, the Level Velo kit. I'm not sure I'm ready to design this kind of jersey yet there, but if there's a demand, we'll make it. But hot pink. I'm not sure I've worn too much hot pink before, but and I'll be honest on it, I didn't know how you got this jersey. So you've educated me, that's for sure. I didn't know that was the process you went through. So thank you for that. And I'm going to try that out. So it's not, what you're telling me is it's not activated yet, but it will happen at some point.
No,
right?
It's activated now. So next time you go ride, select that basic Zwift jersey and you'll have this in game and it'll just look amazing. I saw a few TTT teams out in it last night. It's great when people, I first noticed this in commentary when I was commentating the TTT and a whole team was in it. I was like, how did they get the jersey? And that's how I found out, because I messaged them afterwards and was like, perfect. So actually, maybe a few people don't know about that. But there we go. That's jersey pick of the week. That is the Zwift Christmas jersey. Yeah. Now, this one, this is the garage pick of the week. Now, these are, I would say, my favorite socks. I was kind of going through the sock collection and, I know that there's like beer socks maybe and all of those kind of ones, but I actually love these. And I realized not many people have them, because it was a Zwift Tri Academy 2019 unlock. So unless you're a runner as well, you wouldn't have got them. But yeah, plain black, but with the Z and a rainbow, which paired with, as you see, these Zip Superfly wheels, looks amazing. I mean, you probably don't have these, Si. I'm not sure if you're much of a triathlete.
Yeah. No, and I really want these socks. So this is the thing. I see some jersey and I see some socks out there which were for these particular events, and we need to figure out how. I need to make requests to try and get these, because I absolutely love those socks. And I've just recently got these wheels as well, so they would fit in really, really well. So yeah, I'm all about that. I like that one. They would suit any kit as well, I think. So that's a good pick. I'm with you.
Okay, good. I like it. And we've got Chris from Zomunique who's coming to chat to say that he would love to see your kit in game, Si. He would love to see the Levo Velo game in Jersey. In game.
So would I. It's on the list. I'm assured it is on the list. So no doubt. Yeah, a few of our teams, we've actually just doubled the amount of teams we've got through this break somehow. And everyone's asking me about kit. So it is coming. It is on the list. I keep trying to bump us up priority over the, 'cause I guess all the focus is on the world's teams for early 2023 at the minute. But yeah, we'll keep pushing. It will come at some point. And of course, those who don't know, Chris's son is a graphic designer, and he actually has designed the jersey. So Chris is probably a little bit biased, but yeah, Chris's son Connor has designed the jersey, and in fact, he's designed a couple of jerseys of ours now as well. So really cool family.
Oh, that's awesome. And huge shout out to that, because I tried to design our jersey. I had someone from the community send me some tips. And so I got these vector app thing, software, and was trying to build it. Oh my gosh, after about 4 hours, I was like, one, I'm not the most creative person. And then two, I'm trying to put in all these blocks. I was like, I like upskilling in a whole lot of places, but I had to call it quits and be like, I am not an in-game jersey designer. So yeah, all credit to those who do it.
Reach out to Connor. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Let's make that Connor's full-time job.
Yeah, Zwift jersey development. Love it. Okay, so I have finally come up with an idea for the podcast holiday ride next week. So originally we were going to do the live podcast while Nathan and I were riding. But after some thought and a few people in the Discord were like, great, let's race. I was like, to be honest, the podcast will just turn into heavy breathing. And it's just, I don't think that would be pleasant to listen to. And I think...
no comments.
Yeah, I mean, some people might like it. Could be a thing, right? So then I thought, okay, well, we still want to do it around the podcast. So what we're going to do is, and I'm absolutely unabashedly taking this idea from the Kiwi Crew Riot race, because I was actually on that ride as a warm-up last night, and it made me, light bulb went off. So we're going to do a podcast ride at 11 a.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. GMT, which is an hour before the podcast goes live. So that will be when the ride is. The ride will be about 45 to 50 minutes-ish. I've got to pick a route, so maybe you can help with that, Si. But basically, about 30 minutes of the ride will just be a group ride, chat, all of that kind of stuff. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes will be the riot. So that will be the full race, no holes barred, go for the line. And then Nathan and I will not have time to shower, and we'll just basically come straight onto the pod and do our podcast. So I was thinking a route, because I want to do it sort of route-based, not time-based potentially, so that you're actually racing. Or you could do it. Anyway, we're getting an official event set up. So I'm thinking route-based, almost like an after-party kind of route. So you do maybe Leaf Hill. Or is there a route that would take, approximately 45 minutes where you could really just race to the line in the last 15 minutes? Or I guess you could race to the line based on a kilometer. So with 8 kilometers to go, we're all in. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe taking parts of the new Urukese map, because obviously we've not covered that. I was expecting it to appear, I must admit, in this round of ZRL, but we've not seen it. So, maybe taking one of those routes. I know there's a couple of the routes that take in maybe the Temple Climb as well. So maybe you could round off on the Temple Climb ready for the chain jumper. So get round Urukese, get round some of the paddy fields, and then finish on the chain jumper. But then you've got to go and sweet talk James Bailey to get a little bit of a bespoke finish maybe for that.
Well, what about what about this Makuri 40? Is that a good course? I just saw that I haven't got that route badge yet. 40K.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You're testing me now, because I rode it the first day they poured it out, but then trying to remember exactly which part that took out.
Quick side, look, tell me.
Is this, quick, get on Zwift Insider. But yeah, that could be a good course. Yeah, I think you're pretty much going to take in Nyokyo as well for that route. Pretty much
I think you almost go through a lot of
3 islands, as it were, so.
Okay, so you're a top A rider. How fast do you do 10K in if you're racing? How fast is a 10K ish in a pack?
I don't know. I can't think. My brain's. I'm now thinking about courses and routes and the comment you made about being a top A rider.
Oh, there we go.
I'm an average B rider trying to be an A rider. That's me.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'll have a think. I'll look at the course that at least maybe the last 10K we race it. I think think Makuri 40 could be good. 30k
40.
of,
You do your 40 in about an hour, 50 minutes to an hour. I think you'd be good.
Yeah. Ride 30k, race 10. Yeah, I think we're good. Maybe race 15 if we're feeling frisky. I'll make the call on the day. Okay, well, that's kind of what we're doing next week with the pod. What have you got coming up this week? I mean, it's Christmas, obviously. Neither of us are doing the festive 500. I guess you're doing a lot of training.
Well, tomorrow, I'm quite excited because tomorrow is my last hard session before Christmas. So I did a sort of zone 2, zone 3 ride this morning. Got up nice and early, got that done because Mrs. Bradley was telling me that I needed to help with a bit of shopping. So I've got my last hard training session tomorrow. And then I've got 2 days break, which is going to be good. So I'm going to have plenty of turkey and Christmas pudding. And then, I'm straight back into the training plan. Although, as I said to you off air, I am going to try and sneak in a few races in between Christmas and New Year, just to add a bit of spice and fun into it. But I've not made any decisions yet, so I'll keep an eye in the chat and Facebook, and maybe some suggestions can come in. But I just want to get tomorrow's anaerobic threshold session done and then have a beer and maybe just relax.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yes, I've got my tri session tomorrow, which I'm finally going back to, and we do a criterion. And there's been way too much smack talk from the dudes there because I won it, and then I had to have a big break. So I'm going to go back tomorrow. My bike's been nicely tuned and try and slam that one. I'll be doing a lot of recon interval sessions, I think, in the next week. Probably the TTT up Alp to Zwift next Thursday. But other than that, I mean, Christmas with 3 kids under 6 is a very, very exciting time in the house. So I am super pumped about that. I was talking to Sai. If any of you tune into my Twitches lately, my 3-year-old son has been extremely into streaming and chatting on the mic and getting on his bike. So I'm going to sort out a Zwift account for him so that at least he can be looking at the game as well instead of sort of looking up at my TV. So that's a little project. But I'm excited about that. And I guess we will see everybody at the festive podcast next week. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Si. Not only were you the guest, but you were the co-host. And I hope you have a very, very safe and happy Christmas with your family. And no doubt we will see you, hopefully, for the ride next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll join you. Merry Christmas and to all the community out there. What a great bunch. And thank you. I'm just glad you didn't put Scotty the Squirrel in place as me. So thank you very much. And if I don't see you in between, well, I'll see you next week and then in the new year.
Sounds good. And as always, everybody, ride on.